29 years ago, I made one of the biggest changes in my life. I stumbled upon the most valuable knowledge in the world. It totally transformed my life. And the one thing it did for me is I stopped eating what's known as Maillard molecules. It comes from the Maillard reaction. It's what happens when we apply fire and heat to our food. Changes the chemical structure, my friends. Creates brand new molecules that never existed before. The amino acids interact with the carbohydrates, the sugars, and form brand new molecules. Now, this was discovered in the early 1900s by an American here, a French chemist, Maillard. And he found that when you put a potato in boiling water, created 420 new molecules that didn't exist before. The guy was trying to figure out how to find the molecule for steak and put it into a potato. Pretty clever idea, huh? Let's modify this food and make this potato taste like snake, like a steak. What happens, folks, when we alter our food? It changes the chemical structure. It creates new odors, flavors, smells, scents, colors. In effect, it puts us under a spell. The hunger spell. Remember Plato? Whatever deceives men seems to produce a magical enchantment. We become under the hunger spell when we alter our food. And when we have a withdrawal symptom, we perceive it as hunger. Not supposed to feel an all gone feeling down here. We want all those new molecules that were never created before. Maillard molecules. And that's just with a baked potato, or with a potato in boiling water. Nowadays, when we have these complicated recipes, we end up having millions, if not billions, of new molecules that never existed before. And again, what does that do to the food? Changes the color, changes the aroma, it changes the flavor. It creates new flavors and aromas that we never had before. Take a piece of dead animal flesh, it doesn't smell appealing, does it? But as soon as you put it on the grill and those amino acids react with the sugars, it releases an aroma, doesn't it? And of course now we're just like Pavlov's dog. Ring the bell and we start salivating. Smell that popcorn, you want to go buy some, don't you? Interesting how certain foods have certain aromas. Only when we cook them do they have those type of aromas. The foods we're meant to eat, our species-specific diet, has the colors and the smells and the flavors that we're supposed to eat, that we crave. But now our taste buds are being molested. And these people are going around saying, I have a sophisticated palate. No, you have a molested palate. You've been exposed to molecules that you should never have been exposed to before. And we wonder why food's so addictive. Well, it's addictive for so many other reasons besides the fact that we can become addicted to anything that's pleasurable. The problem with food is we need to eat. It's not like smoking cigarettes. You don't have to smoke a cigarette, but you have to eat, folks. This food addiction is difficult to overcome. So that's what we're up against. Remember, about 90% of what we perceive as taste is smell. So when you're trying to make better lifestyle choices and you're subjected to these odors, these aromas from this cooked food, from these Maillard molecules, it triggers that subconscious current of addiction that we have and pulls us right back to the things we're made out of. Like Emerson said, it wasn't the voice of man complaining about this simple natural diet. It was beef and brandy, roaring for beef and brandy. It's Maillard molecules roaring for Maillard molecules. They're altered, folks. We create so many new substances when we alter our food. We've got AJEs and GCAs, the advanced glycation end products, the heterocyclic amines. These are poisons to the body, folks. Sure, we can caramelize those carbohydrates, but then we form acrylamides, a known carcinogenic. When we apply heat to the protein, what happens to the protein? Coagulates right before your eyes, doesn't it? It changes. Now it has half the biological value. We didn't make that protein more assimilable, better for us to eat and consume. We made it worse. And in many cases, it allowed us to eat food we weren't meant to eat to begin with. And we wouldn't have done it had we not created those Maillard molecules that enticed us with all those colors and aromas and flavors. We're under the spell, folks. The hunger spell. Those new molecules spell. And boy, it's a tough addiction to break, isn't it? It's a tough tradition to break. What do? Do we keep passing down the same mistakes our parents passed down to us? Hey, we're part of a certain culture. We want to pass down the science of cooking, the physics of cooking, our molecular gastronomy, gastrophysics. I have in the past made videos about the art of cooking and how I find that so ironic when in effect it's really the sin of cooking because it's a mistake. And now the science of cooking is no different. So the science and art of cooking, gastrophysics, it's an illusion, folks. It's a way to put us under the spell. So it's not just the fact that the art of cooking is really a sin, but so is the science of cooking. That's also a huge mistake. It's one of the biggest mistakes we've ever made. And now we consider these chefs great science minds, the science of food, science of cooking. Life is such an illusion on so many levels. It's mind-boggling. And it's really hard to get the attention of the average person who's under the spell. Very few people are open enough to the possibility that they could do something as simple as change what they eat and see a profound difference in their life. The sad part is most people have no idea what type of difference it can make. A lot of strikes against us. And I've been thinking about this for 29 years. Again, 29 years ago, I stopped eating those Maillard molecules. Wasn't able to give them up overnight. It took about 5 years until I finally realized I couldn't eat them anymore. It was messing me up, plugged up my system. I was forced to be 100% fire-free. And until that happens to you, it's really hard to appreciate the difference. Because as long as you're creating those Maillard molecules, you really don't know what you're missing. You wouldn't think a few of them would matter. What difference does it make if I just have a little steamed broccoli? Well, in the grand scheme of things, it's a step in the right direction for most of us, isn't it? But the one thing I've learned is as you start making improvements in your lifestyles, you can only go so far with certain programs. You got to keep bumping it up till you find the pinnacle. It only makes sense to me that we achieve that pinnacle as soon as we can. That's why I encourage people to take a solid food vacation on juices, because it allows most people to see results about 10 times faster than had they just said, I'm not going to use fire anymore. I'm going to eat more fruits and vegetables and nuts and seeds like we're designed to eat. But the problem, of course, as long as we're eating, we're going to be tempted to go back to those Maillard molecules. And then we always want to have more and more and more. That's why we got to break this addiction. Got to unwind that cable that's created every time we do something. Habits are a physical reality. We create a neural strand every time we do something. What's jumping in that water over there? It's like a cable. Only one way to break a bad habit, folks. We got to unwind that cable. We got to take a solid food vacation, either on water or juices, but most of us are going to struggle with water for many reasons. I talk about that in many of my other videos. I'll put links down below and also in a pinned comment for my related videos to my playlist. I have 32 videos in my solid food vacation playlist to help people make the best transition to a Maillard molecule free diet. It's a fire-free diet. And when you quit applying fire to your food, you're going to stop eating most of the other foods, although some people will insist that they still want to eat the flesh of a dead animal, not realizing the cruel and sinful thing they do. I haven't eaten animals in 33 years. First dietary change I made. In less than 3 weeks, the Game Changers in Comedy Houston going to show all you other athletes what I learned 33 years ago. When I stopped eating animals, my endurance level skyrocketed. And now we've got the science to prove that. The science proves that when you eat animals, your epithelial cells aren't as large and you don't get as much blood and oxygen to your cells. But when you quit eating animals, those epithelial cells get bigger. More blood, more oxygen. Performance is better. Testosterone, they say, oh, you're not a man unless you eat animals. Your testosterone levels aren't high enough. Well, that's poppycock too. As the Game Changers points out, testosterone levels can rise 20% within 10 days on a plant-based diet. And then, of course, as Buddha once said many years ago, that he told us not to eat animals. But in the future, people will come up with many sophisticated arguments to defend their meat eating. They'll look at the Game Changers and say, oh, the gladiators, they were slaves. We didn't feed them meat so they wouldn't revolt. Oh, what a bunch of crock. The slaves were the slaves. But these were the first professional athletes we had. They had to perform well and they had to heal well. That's why they ate a plant-based diet. That's why we all need to be more open-minded about what we eat. And we should think to ourselves, if I don't have to kill another animal to survive, and if I don't, I'll survive better, I'll thrive instead, why would you want to take the life of another animal? Only one reason why people do that, because we think we need that protein, don't we? I oftentimes reflect my early life as an adult. I took home ec in high school. My two buddies and I decided, let's take this class for our senior year. Lots of women. So I learned a few things that I found useful in life. I learned how to sew. But then I learned the kitchen. I learned those 4 food groups. And I can still reflect shopping as a young man. Walking into a grocery store and the first thing you think of, where's that protein? You don't think, where's the dead animal? You don't even think of meat, you think of protein. See how they condition us to think it's not a dead animal, so it desensitizes us to what we're doing? We got to get that protein. So you walk into the store, first thing you do is, I got to figure out what protein I'm going to get so then I can figure out what else I'm going to add to it. What a joke. Having eaten animals in 33 years, I've never felt better. At the age of 65, can't believe my life keeps getting better and better. Stopped eating those Maillard molecules back in 1990. What a difference that made. What a difference. Ever since then, I've been on a mission to help people realize that we are what we eat. And we can take our life to a whole nother level if we realize this simple natural law. That we're no different than the other animals. We all have a species-specific diet. We have anatomy that limits us to what we're supposed to eat. And many people are going to say, well, that's just too extreme, and that's absurd. That's the Maillard Molecules talking. The beef and brandy, roaring for more beef and brandy. We crave what we're made out of, folks. That's why this is such a struggle for so many people. And as many of you already know, you've watched enough of my videos to know why I mention a solid food vacation in all of my videos. We have to see what we're missing. We've got to bump up that coherent sunlight energy that our cells use to communicate and feel one with everything. We got to flush out all the debris in both of those bathrooms. If you don't know what I'm talking about, please watch What is the Healthiest Diet in the World. I cover a lot of topics in that one video. I'm going to be referencing that video a lot in the future. So I talk about the body's 10 body systems. In case we're damaged, we have to understand how to support those. We have to understand the cause of disease. We have to understand the first of 5 main mistakes we're making. And that's where we created those Maillard molecules. Maillard molecules. I keep wanting to say Maillard for some reason. I guess that's how I started saying it long ago. Everyone else is saying Maillard, pronouncing it like it's Spanish. 2 L's are a Y sound. And yet the guy's French, so I don't know. If someone could point me to a pronunciation of that, I'd appreciate it. So I won't butcher it as much as I butcher a lot of words. I do that quite often. I don't edit videos for a reason. I don't mind making mistakes. I'm not perfect. I mispronounce words all the time. And many times when I turn on my camera, I don't know for sure what I'm going to say, and I always appreciate people saying you should be better laid out. You should condense it down. Why are you forcing me to listen to this for 20 minutes? Why don't you just say it in 2 minutes to get on with it? Well, I'm in the middle of a bike ride, and that's how I film most of my videos. Many times, as I did today when I turned this video camera on, I really didn't know what I was going to say. I just knew that I've been watching a lot of cooking shows lately, and I'm looking at how they're giving people challenges by taking odd items that would be in maybe 5 main groups of flavor, and I'll give you one food out of this group and one food of this and one food out of this. Now there's the science. Let's see you mix it up to see how you can make magic. I got something that keeps crawling up my leg down there. And that's what made me think about this. Watching all these shows and watching how people are it's really simple if you think about it. When you look at, let's say, 5 main flavors, you got thousands of foods in each one of these groups. Now there's an astronomical way you can take any food from this group and mix it with a food from this group and this group, and then match the textures also. That's something else that the science of cooking involves, or the art of cooking involves. The textures, the flavors, the colors, the aromas, the layers. And it's all a magic act. It's all ultimately putting us under a spell. Where now that's all we think about, isn't it? Food, 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 food. I've got a sophisticated palate. Not any food can satisfy me anymore. I've been molested with all these new Maillard molecules. Maillard molecules. I'm addicted. And I'm a master. I know how to combine all sorts of things from different food groups and create magic. Make it yummy for you. Make it smell good, look good, and taste good. But it won't be good for you. That's the sad reality of it. My heart gets heavy every time I think about the amount of suffering this whole planet is experiencing just because we're cooking our food. When I think about all the animals being slaughtered right now, this moment, I know that wouldn't have happened had we not started cooking our food. When I think about all the people that are suffering, that are in pain right now with a myriad of illnesses, and they go to so-called experts that only treat symptoms, it infuriates me when I think about that. It's maddening to realize how much suffering is going on this planet, and it all traces back to one simple thing: cooking. Overwhelming at times when you realize what we're up against. But then it's also exciting when you realize how more and more people are waking up on so many different levels. There are revolutions going around us all over the place. People are realizing that things aren't right in a lot of areas. People are waking up to the fact that there's a small group of people that own and control every major sector of human endeavor that allows us to commit atrocities or believe in absurdities, so we'll commit atrocities. We'll think we got to get that protein, not realizing that there's some poor animal suffering. Not just when it's being butchered and slaughtered, but pretty much its whole existence. Factory farming is a sad reflection of our species. There's a lot of things in our society that's a sad reflection of who we are. And if I was to somehow be a representative of this planet and every intelligent life form on every planet in this universe was all gathered together at one place, my head would be hanging down low. I'm not proud of us over here. But the sad thing is, I'm sure I wouldn't be alone. I'm sure this is a common mistake that's made throughout the universe, where that intelligent species gets too clever for their own good. And they start mixing food in their fire, and they create magic, black magic. They create these new aromas, these new colors, these new flavors. There used to not be any flavor at all in that before. Look what I can do. I can add some of this to it and this to it, this to it. I can create so many molecules, I wouldn't know where to begin if I tried to count them. In fact, scientists can't do that now. The way we prepare food and fast foods right now, there are so many different food combinations and processed in so many ways. It's frightening to think how many molecules we're putting in our body that are not natural. And then we wonder why we're oblivious to the obvious. We are what we eat. But look at everyone around me. They look like me. I'm big and fat and puffy. Ain't got no wrinkles on my face because it's all big and fat. It's like a beach ball. Sad. It's sad when all of our dietary mistakes are recorded in our flesh, and yet everyone's making the same mistake. You look all around you, and you think, well, I'm just normal. Look like everyone else. Well, you need to come to one realization in your life. You don't want to be going the same direction most people are going. That's what Mark Twain meant. He said, whenever you find yourself on the side of the majority, it's time to pause and reflect. It's time to get the hell out of there. We got to realize what we're doing is not good. We got tricked into liking it on a short-term basis. And that's part of our problem, because short-term pleasures usually always win out over long-term pain. But I know a lot of you guys have been experiencing pain for too long. And I know what's going to happen when you go on a solid food vacation, because I coach thousands of you guys. I'm reminded every day when I come out here riding on the bike ride, on my bike trail, I see people saying, hey, no more pain in my knees. Cut the juicer the next day. I talk to you. I lost twice as much weight in 12 days as I did in 1 month riding my bike for 500 miles. Powerful, powerful, powerful transformation people go through when they take a solid food vacation, when they stop eating those Maillard molecules and only eat biophotons. Can't have both. If you eat your biophotons, you're not eating those Maillard molecules. And if you're eating the Maillard molecules, you're not eating biophotons. So it's a battle between biophotons and Maillard molecules. All we have to do to win that battle, quit cooking our food. Quit creating things that don't belong inside of us. Bump up the coherent sunlight energy that we're supposed to store in the nucleus of our cells, and we're not. And as a result, we don't know how to act. Got the wrong mentality. We prey systematically upon our own species. We have an exchange mentality. We don't cooperate, we compete for resources. And it's all ass backwards. But it could change. I'm optimistic. Because, again, more and more people are waking up. More and more people are realizing that they can make changes in their diet. And they see improvements. But the problem is there's a lot of ways to improve on your diet and see improvement and still not be achieving the pinnacle, the best that you could be. I've done videos on intermittent fasting. If we just quit eating breakfast or go to 1 meal a day, you can keep eating horrible food and see unbelievable results and think, hey, I found the answer. Still eating crap. But wait till you change, and you change what you eat, and you incorporate a better eating regimen where you realize you shouldn't be eating all day long. I've done several videos, how often should we eat, and I've done several videos on intermittent fasting. I'll add that into the pinned comment down below. And be sure to watch What is the Healthiest Diet for Humans. Watch it in its entirety. Watch it several times. Take some notes. Learn how the body works. You can know more about how to take care of your body by analyzing that one video than you can by getting a 4-year degree in nutrition or any advanced medical degree anywhere on the planet. Because these people aren't teaching what causes disease. I explain what causes disease. I explain how we have 10 body systems. I explain that we're no different than any other animal. We have a species-specific diet. And it's hard to adopt that way of life because we don't know what we're missing. So that's why you got to start off your journey with a solid food vacation. Be sure to look at my playlist down below. 32 videos. One of them is a 2-hour seminar. Seminar is normally lasts 4 hours. That's why I added all these other related videos. Once you take a solid food vacation, you're going to correct these 5 main mistakes that I talk about in what is the healthiest diet in the world for humans. And by correcting that first mistake, we won't be making the other mistakes. That's when our life transforms. That's when we take our life to another level. That's when we start eating biophotons and stop eating those Maillard molecules. And we continue on the hero's journey. And a big part of that hero's journey is sharing this message. So I want to take time out now and give a special thanks to all of my subscribers that are out there helping me share this message to everybody and for updating what your results are. And I guarantee you folks, if you can do what these other people are doing and they're telling you about, you're going to find out why they're doing it. Because, without a doubt, it is the most exciting and the most exhilarating experience anyone can have. It changes you on, again, so many levels you just won't even believe it. And then when you start seeing the benefits by helping someone you know that's suffering, that's when you know your life has some purpose. Now you have a reason to wake up and get excited every day. And when you can wake up every day and get excited because you're on the hero's journey, I guarantee you, that's the day you're in for a treat.